meeting of the Cudahy Board of Public Works, Monday, October 31st at 5:31 p.m. Prior to this meeting, notice was given to the community and posted in the appropriate places. Notice was also given to the news media that requested it, namely the Milwaukee Journal, Sentinel, and MySouthShoreNow.com. We'll take the roll call. Willie Lohr.
Here.
Mike Clark.
Here.
Alderman Randy Hollenbeck.
Here.
Frank Magistro is absent and excused. The Chair Jason Lichtwitz is here. Also we have Mary Jo Lang. We have Scott Revelinsky. Also in attendance, all the 1st District Alderman Justin Morales and 2nd District Alderman Mike Johnson. Frank Magistro is in, and we also have Alderperson Michelle St. Marie Belko, so there is a quorum of the Cudahy Common Council present. First up, approval of the minutes of the October 3rd, 2016 meeting. Any changes or corrections?
Just one correction on the summary for the yard waste spring cleanup drop off. I think I mentioned that we discussed a little bit the possibility of purchasing extra tickets, and that's not included in the discussion. If it could just be noted.
Sure.
You accept them with that change?
Yes.
Second.
Make a motion, a second.
I'll second it with the change.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it, 4-0. So we have number 1 under new business, overview and discussion regarding the 2017 recycling fund budget.
Can I make a motion to accept?
I did.
And then second?
Oh, Willie made the
Motion.
Willie made the
first,
motion, I
Mike's the
seconded.
second.
I'm sorry. All right, got it.
Take it away, Mary Jo.
Okay, in your packets, we have the recycling budget under item number 1. Just gives you a breakdown for 2017. And what you can see is that we'll be kind of breaking even, but then and we're working off our reserves. And then in 2018, we'll be in a negative balance of 17,000. Much of this has to do, this year we did go out and spend money. We had a reserve, and we spent about $178,000 out of that reserve to get recycling carts for half the city. They came out of reserve. And then we have been working off a reserve off and on over the last several years. And a lot has to do with the fact that we haven't been, we didn't change our recycling fees since 2006 was the last time, or 2004. 2004 was the last time that we raised the recycling fee. And I also in here, there's a colored chart with historic costs versus revenue for recycling fund. This is very interesting because I have to say this fund or this portion of my job has been very, I spend a lot of time each year. And I'm wondering why I spend so much time, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that each year we're dodging some kind of bullet. And those bullets are anywhere from because of the very fact that we haven't, or I don't have the capability, or we haven't raised the recycling fee. The bullet is obviously we have tipping fee costs, we have recycling costs, but then our yard waste makes up a large component of this. And in 2009, 2010, we actually had to pay to get our yard waste tipping fee to take our yard waste. So you see some high costs there. We were working on reserves. In 2011, we negotiated a contract with Growing Power and was able to not have to pay those tipping fees. And that was 2011, 2012. And then we also went to a drop-off attendant. We have 2 full-time employees down there. And then we went to a drop-off attendant, part-time drop-off attendant. And then in 2013, we lost our yard waste facility 2014, we were able to contract out with a different farm, as we call it, so that we didn't have to pay those tipping fees. And we did a lot of changes. We've always been doing a lot of changes, whether it's spring cleanup, whether it's personnel, fees at the drop-off site, no fees at the drop-off site. And so each year, we've had to change something in order to keep it within a manageable financial terms. But we're at this point, I think, that we're running out of things to do. And my biggest fear is if we do lose our current drop-off site, dump site for yard waste, and we have to pay a tipping fee. That tipping fee equals about $40,000 to $50,000 a year. And that can happen at any time. So this is a good exercise, but really our department's had to put a lot of time into this. And much of the reason is because people want the services. You want the services, but nobody wants to pay for those services. So, and this will allude back to our spring cleanup again, where now we're trying to bring back service, but we can't fund it. And as you see with the recycling, there are no changes in this recycling. In fact, we put like $20,000 into the carts, but you'll see that our expenses exceed our revenue. So we will be working off of any cash balance we have. And by 2018, if we stay the same, no spring cleanup, we stay the status, we will have a deficit of $17,000 in recycling. So that's it in a nutshell. Now, it's too late to raise any fees right now because our fees are collected on the taxes the year before to pay for the program the following year. So it's really too late to do that at this point. And I also gave you a memo of what the recycling fees pay for. So, any questions with that?
Nope.
Now, does the city pay for the carts, or does Advanced Waste pay for the carts?
We pay for the carts. We had
And if they're damaged, who pays?
Well, if they're damaged by the property owners, this year we had 3 property owners that threw hot coals in there. I don't know if it was their garbage or recycling carts, and we charged them for those carts.
Well, what about the advanced truck comes in and pounds the hell out of the cart and breaks the wheel?
That was one of the reasons
Yes.
why we had to do the new carts, because they're over 20 years old. So their
were blaming
excuse,
the
their
carts.
excuse was, we're slamming these things down, and they've outlived their 10 to 12-year-old, lifespan. They're over 20 years. Now, since they're new carts, when they're caught slamming them down or driving and dragging them and the wheels pop off, then they have to pay for it, because it's a good cart. They can't
So
blame it on age anymore.
they're paying if they damage a new cart.
If the contractor, a newer cart, because some of them, they'll be 2 years old this year.
Mm-hmm.
But they were using the excuse, these carts are 20 years old, they're brittle, and that's why the whole cart replacement was coming.
And the reason why the city purchases carts is because we have the ability to switch service companies.
And not have
And
And
not have
we
the
still
first
own the
costs.
carts.
Right, because that's what
Okay.
the first couple of years you're paying for that first cost, they're gonna charge you for those carts,
Mhm.
no
And
matter what.
now with the fire that happened, with insurance, are we gonna have to take some money maybe out of funds for that cleanup?
We've had to, one thing is the carts are not considered an asset, therefore they're not insured. So the carts, any carts that we've lost are not insured, we have to replace them at our cost. The cleanup cost, we have a certain amount of deductible. So the cost of the carts and the cleanup are now around 50 to 60,000. So we'll try to do something, we'll try to go to the insurance company for somebody, I believe we have like a $25,000 deductible. So we're not gonna get very much. So it will have to come from the recycling fund.
Even if it was an asset, it's depreciation of.
Right, right,
And then there's
Zero.
deductible.
right,
Mhm.
exactly.
Well, in the scheme of things, the spring cleanup, we have so many other things that need to be done in this city through the DPW department, that in the scheme of things, spending that $100,000 for a spring cleanup, in my opinion, is a very low priority. We have infrastructure that's collapsing, we have trees that are falling on vehicles, we have roads that are becoming undrivable, in the first district, I mean, Allerton Avenue, Packard Avenue, well now Packard Avenue is being addressed, but in the scheme of things, I don't think there's a rationale to have a spring cleanup when the situation exists. We're down to what, 13, 14 employees in the DPW? 16. We were functioning for quite a few years at 20, 21 employees, and we weren't really comfortable with that. Now we're down to 16. Fortunately, last winter, we had a very mild winter, so we were able to address some of the tree issues and stuff, but this winter, they're predicting a colder and a snowier winter. As far as spring cleanup is concerned, this, I don't think, for what it benefits, I don't think it's a priority.
And the only way that we're gonna even be able to offset the costs of, you know, on spring cleanup is raising the recycling fees.
And we're still, Frank, the way it looks here, we're still gonna have
We're
to
gonna
raise
probably
ours.
have to do it anyway,
I mean,
but
we're looking at a $10 increase next year just to cover costs to replace some more garbage carts, to address those issues, just to stay on an even keel. I mean, we're providing a service at the dump. We've got the 2 golden tickets. If somebody wants to get rid of something at the dump, they have the opportunity to do it with the 2 golden tickets. We have the 15 tickets where we able to get rid of the vegetation recycling. I think in the
Well, how
scheme of
much
things, we are
complaints?
providing the service, and it's a service I've never used. Spring cleanup is a service that I personally have lived here my whole life, I've never used it. I suppose, there are people that use it, obviously, because when you drive through the city, it looks like a dump for 2 weeks. But, I mean, I've had scavengers going up and down my alleys, picking up stuff, throwing it in the back of their vans, driving down, dumping it off somewhere else. Spring cleanup is not a,
I don't know if you agree, but we've got stuff coming in now from South Milwaukee, St. Francis, you know, that
Mhm.
stuff is all coming in here. And then we had the whole issue with the TVs that were being dropped off in front of who knows whose house they
We
were
had-
there,
we had
and
so-
then they were getting smashed. But they didn't, you know, and then we had what, half dozen people came in and said
that's right.
that
Not mine.
It's
that
not
wasn't
mine.
mine, it got dropped off overnight.
I saw
You know.
I saw one guy pull into my alley. The guy across the way, this was a couple of years ago, he had a TV sitting there. He got out with a cutters, a wrench, a screwdriver. He took the whole thing apart. He cut the wires off of it. He took whatever was copper or whatever he thought was
Right,
valuable
yeah,
in
the
it.
copper.
And then off he drove with that, and then he threw the TV back down on the thing. I've seen people throw TVs in their back of their vehicles, and then they drive a few blocks, and then they pitch the vehicle out in somebody else's. For 2 weeks, this has been a history with this spring cleanup. It's been a problem. It has an inherent problems in it.
and it doesn't benefit the city. It really doesn't, because we're spending, I don't remember, what did you say it was?
110,000 last
Yeah,
year.
$100 and some thousand.
What
for
was the final
spring.
cost of all, like the TVs, our final cost?
It was 17, between the TVs and the e-waste and some of the other stuff like the tires and.
Tires and paint and all that.
And, yeah, some of the hazardous waste, it was 17,000 additional.
Now, you were saying you wouldn't have the manpower to do that, basically to dedicate them, because we're supposed to be trimming trees around that time. Now, who would you even contact? Would it be like a 1-800-GOT-JUNK? Is there like a company, who would even, would it have to be through like a waste management or advanced to do a citywide, like to even put that out for bid? Who would you even contact?
Are we talking item 1 or item 2?
That's what I was just.
Well, I mean,
asking for
I'm just saying,
clarification.
like for
Yeah.
spring cleanup though, like, this is to keep it, this.
But that's, so you should
Yeah.
go in for the budget.
I think I've drifted over to.
Because the first one was the budget.
Yeah.
Unless you wanna
Drifted
go to
over with-
2 for.
Well, I mean,
Well,
no, I'm not,
let's get done.
The two are.
I'm just saying they're kinda I mean, if
Yes, they are.
if they vote no, I mean, number 2 is probably a no, cause you wouldn't have to do it, but number 2 influences the vote on number 1. If you don't have the people to do it,
So did you wanna do 2 first? And then go back to 1?
we will go to number 2 and then back to 1.
Okay.
Cause you have to tell us who's gonna do the spring cleanup since it's not gonna be you
Right.
or Scott.
So do you wanna read 2?
We're gonna do number 2, discussion regarding the council's action to reconsider the Board of Public Works recommendation to permanently discontinue a curbside spring rubbish pickup.
Okay, so this coming year, in 2017, the DPW, we sat down, we have over 600 trees, dead trees. Last year we had 400, we took 280 down, and we have additional trees up to a count of 600 compromised or dead trees. These last 2 windstorms, Scott, you can correct me, the last 2 windstorms, we've had a total of 5 vehicles that
Yes.
were damaged, because of the dead trees or a limb falling. Those trees were marked. Which means the city, and for the length of time, the city could be found negligent for not attending to those so-called hazardous trees. So every effort is gonna be made to cut those down, which means my DPW department, that's my first priority. So there's not gonna be anybody available in 2017 to pick up spring cleanup. We would have to contract it out. If we contract it out, that cost is gonna be $10, well, it's gonna be about $16. We would have to add a $16 recycling, addition to the recycling fee to cover the contractual cost of spring cleanup.
And you got a lot of people, I'm one of them, Willie's one of them, where, hey, you know, I've never used spring cleanup. And there's a lot of people, especially on my block, and Randy can attest to that, that when we had the spring cleanup, there wasn't anything out there in some areas. So why should I pay more for somebody else that doesn't wanna go and take their trash over to the city dump? I mean, in the scheme of things, that's not right, you know, and, you know, if they're old in that, well, then they can contact a private contractor, we can give them numbers or whatever, and let them pay accordingly.
See, just some history. Where this comes about is on August 4th, 2015, at the Common Council meeting, we were at an impasse on whether or not to eliminate spring cleanup or, you know, roll out, you know, like the golden tickets. Albeit it's a different Common Council than we have now. I looked amongst the Common Council members we had and asked, do we have a better solution and or how to pay for it? There was utter silence for 30 seconds. That's when I said, that's what I expected. Then I said, let's compromise. Let's put the tickets in, see how it goes. If it's utter failure, we can roll back. It's over a year. Anyone that says they didn't know we were gonna look at this, they weren't prepared we were going to look at this, is fooling themselves. Because on August 4th, 2015, we said we would review it again in a year. That time, everyone knew when that was gonna be. In my thing, is it a perfect system? No, it is not. We're never gonna make everyone happy. The two complaints that I really heard from were renters saying the property owner won't give me the tickets. And number two, were contractors and or people that do home improvement on the side complaining that they now have used up their tickets and what are they going to do? I did have a few elderly people who admitted that, you know, they would have trouble even getting it out curbside. But yes, you know, those are our problems. But I thought that the tickets were at least a very good compromise. We're not getting rid of the service. We changed it. It's still there. Yes, the people have to bring it over to there, but the service is still there. It's
And it's
just
still
changed.
free.
Mike, are you gonna say something?
Well, Randy mentioned contractors, and that was one of the big things that we tried to eliminate. These people are running businesses out of their houses, and we're using the drop-off site to get rid of all their stuff. And I don't want to mention names, but, you know, that was never the intention, or landlords that would be bringing stuff over.
Well,
I think we
The guy
got rid
who-
of all that, with this whole ticket
well,
system.
the guy with the trailer park was driving around with a pickup truck collecting garbage and charging his people removal, taking it for like
Yeah,
$20 a
well,
week
yeah, they're,
for us,
you know,
and he didn't pay for the service, you know.
but we had, and then one of the big problems was this stuff was starting to come in from South Milwaukee, and then St. Francis, when Waste Management stopped picking up everything in sight, and all of a sudden that stuff was coming in. So, you know, we were the dumping site.
Are you, as a point of clarification, are you talking when it was the Wild Wild West with no dump fee? Or when you could still go there and buy tickets just
No,
to dump
well,
the
when
pickup
there was
truck?
no dump fee.
Yeah, that was the Wild West, and then it was Wild West Light with the
Well,
just
yeah,
buying
but
tickets.
at least if you have tickets, your tickets are gone, you can't come back.
No, I'm saying when you could just purchase the tickets, because you still could potentially have people who don't pay a recycling fee that are paying $20 to get rid of a pickup truck, but it really costs like $70 to dump the load.
Yeah,
Because like
all right,
Scott,
yeah.
you're the one that knows what's in the dumpsters.
Yeah,
When we
so-
were even having where you could just pay, when
It
there was
was
no
all
golden tickets, it was like
construction
replacement
stuff.
Yeah,
windows
you
and
just-
construction
yeah,
crap,
just-
right?
Yeah, it was all construction stuff.
Yeah, just pay your money when you came in. And
Well, this whole dump thing's been, I've been on this board for what, I don't know, ever. We've dealt with the dump thing almost every year. And we refined it, we started with the fees, I mean, we started out where it was just like the Wild Wild West, but getting back to the spring cleanup thing, like I said, in the priority of things and with the expenditures that are out there for this city, I mean, we got tree limbs falling, like I said, we're back to the tree limbs falling on cars, we got the, you know, when we did have the spring cleanup for 2 weeks, it was a free-for-all here in the city, it was like Rummage-A-Rama. It was 2 weeks of Rummage-A-Rama, and I don't think that in the priority of things, this particular service.
There's a little bit of confusion, because at the common council meeting, the mayor just quickly did some math and came up with that it would have to go up $15. You know, after further talking it over with Mary Jo, I personally kept saying, during the meeting, I think it's also gonna have to affect the garbage. Now, remember, we upped the garbage fee. That's going to change, the state frowns upon that, and that affects the levy. Because there's a formula that the state uses, so that cities, municipalities don't just
Well,
go
Milwaukee
fee
went
wild.
they went fee crazy a couple years ago.
So, you know, it's not just, okay, we'll just up all these prices, because there's a
You can keep the
wave
levy at
effect.
zero.
Well, didn't the state of Wisconsin took recycling fees away from us, correct?
They took, half of the recycling fee away. So we were
So
originally.
then we've got that to make up also.
Right, that's the reason why I said there's no other fund, there's no other thing that I spend more time on than garbage and recycling, and it's like a moving target. The minute we finally get it a certain way, somebody comes in, whether it's the state, whether it's the landfill.
And once in a while, there's the dump fee campaign where there's like,
Right.
you know, we had to fight that four different times, like how you gonna pay for it?
Right.
What are you gonna cut?
So just so that everyone kind of remembers and knows, when it was the Wild Wild West, how many roll-offs were we doing?
360.
No, it was like 360
Yeah, it was
something.
360.
Yeah.
360, and how much does it basically cost to get rid of a roll-off?
It's, $200 plus $40 a ton.
So, 360, then we implement having to pay to go to the dump. What did it reduce to?
It was in the teens.
No, it was larger than that. It was,
When we originally, well, we had a real, when we first went to fees, cause everybody else was still kind of free, it
we
really
cut it by,
reduced it.
we cut it by
It-
2/3.
It reduced it a lot. I think it was maybe, almost like 19,
It
14.
it was in the
incredible.
teens.
But that's because
I thought it was higher than that.
everybody around us had free.
So everybody went to
drop
the
off.
other
They
municipalities.
went to the other municipalities, including.
And then when we
mine.
started charging a dump fee, it went up a little, but then it stopped becoming residential house junk. You know, I have a couch, I have a love seat, I wanna go throw away something big, I'm cleaning up my garage a little bit, I wanna go pay to replacement windows, drywall, you know, it'd be
Well-
the same guy dumping off 20 windows a week, you know?
We started the fees, and we thought it would be the solution. And every time we tried to figure something out, the contractors and the people who wanted to abuse it figured out a way to abuse it. They were putting, in the passenger seat, they were putting people with Cut A licenses, driver's license with Cut A addresses. They were paying them to sit in the passenger seat so they could flash that, so they could do their dumping. I mean, this has been a constant, like you said, evolution of trying to refine this and trying to get it where what it was initially proposed as a service for the citizens of the city of Cudahy and someplace for the citizens to take their occasional waste.
And the
their yard
legitimate
waste,
people who got
and-
screwed were the citizens,
and
who just
we
wanted
got-
to use it for
Well,
what
think
the hell
about
it
it,
was for, to
300
throw away a lamp.
300 and some roll-offs at $200 a piece, that was a lot of money we were providing. And then what these guys were doing is they were doing their landscaping and they were doing their contracting and they were charging those people. So what they were basically doing is making money off of our dump. They charge those people for disposal and then come here and dump it for practically nothing.
And
We
then-
thought the fees would cure it, and the fees were, we started out low and they were too low, and these people they just keep rolling the stuff in.
Well, and that was the thing, you couldn't raise the fees because we got hung on the original fee amount. Yeah, now granted, the rest, I mean, the menu of prices that was like this, you know, I mean, it was like you got charged more for a blue truck versus a red truck,
Oh,
a
that-
5 liter
that-
versus a 6 liter, you know, I mean, we simplified it to like where it was like that, but I mean, you know, the theory was right, a half-ton truck carries less than a full ton, so you can technically put heavier junk in a bigger, you know, but like once it got refined, but even then, it people still picked it apart, like, you know, because then you had to use more judgment where, let's say, he you know, he has a car, I have a minivan, but we're still throwing away an end table. Well, his is $5, mine's $10, but it's still the same amount of garbage, you know, and then, you know, the dude that was working down there was getting, you know, he was almost getting beat up, and, you know, and then you start
Threatened.
lipping back off to the person who you're certain, you know. So it was a big circle.
This is an ongoing nightmare.
History-wise,
Yeah, history-wise, we refined I don't know how many times we
Well,
refined
how
the fees.
well, I
well, we
mean, I know-
revisited it almost every year.
Every year.
I know
to
we've
refine.
talked about this before, but how well did the 2 free tickets and the 10 extra tickets?
15.
15 extra
Vegetation
tickets,
tickets.
how did that work out for you guys?
It worked out fine.
Great.
We didn't have any issues. In fact, we haven't
Then
gotten.
let's stick, and, I mean, we gotta find a way to get,
Frank, you wanna
Deficit,
buy one
huh?
of my golden tickets? I got two.
I got two, I haven't, like I said, I don't use the stuff.
Well, the
there's-
mayor recited that like, out of like the 6,500 people who were eligible to get the golden tickets, like 3,300 did it. I picked up all my tickets, but I still have the 2 golden tickets and 12 landscaping.
Well, that's
Or
the
yard
that's the
waste,
question,
recycling.
even the people that picked them up.
Well, they
If
didn't use them. A lot of them
Yeah.
didn't use it, so I mean.
I still got 2.
I mean, did you count them to see how many people even really used it?
Yeah, I've got a spreadsheet going.
Okay.
So,
I mean, I know,
it's been real scarce, but honestly, over the last 2
People know they're running
Saturdays,
out of time.
yes, it is.
Well, I know that, I need to
You're
do,
only open
I need to
on
do a
Saturday,
cleanup.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Until December.
I saw that, I said, oh geez.
There's a lot of people.
Probably
I
do
get there late
something.
Saturday too.
You know, I finally used one of mine. You know, I had a door sitting in my garage that I knew I had to get rid of for the longest, you know, and I just, you know, didn't have the time, and all of a sudden on that Saturday, in fact, it was the Saturday where the guy was there.
Had the police?
Yeah, so I was there for that,
Oh, you were there, you saw that?
Yes.
Yeah.
you know, and, you know, he too knew the rules. You know, if you're going to use it for, you know, your property, you have to bring something to prove that, you know, so it's not exactly how it, you know, was stated. He didn't want to bring that information there.
Mhm.
You know, he was, you know, I was there for that. But, you know, getting back to, so that we have comparable numbers and we're just close ideas. So this year with the, on a normal spring cleanup, how many additional roll-offs would we see during that, you know, 3 to 4 week period?
I mean, so you're talking about the roll-offs that we need for spring cleanup, or
Yeah.
the roll-offs that we have there during the drop-off?
No, for spring, you know.
Well, first of all, the roll-offs that we have at the drop-off typically are 20 to 30-yard roll-offs, whereas we have 100-yard semi-roll-offs.
Quad axles.
Quad
Yeah.
axles. In fact, it
Those were
comes
switched out every day,
every day, there's a,
1 to 2 a day.
yeah,
Were
one
switched
to a
out.
day
those costs.
for.
Yeah, we
Well,
had to
the overall-
dedicate.
The overall cost of the spring
Well, we used
cleanup,
to-
that was included, the $110,000, the roll-off was included in that?
Right, yes.
So the bottom line is this spring cleanup, whether the roll-offs or whatever, is costing us $110,000 a year to provide this service. And we have all these other issues in the city that need to be addressed. It's just gonna be a matter of time. I brought this up before at the meeting. The trees, they've fallen on cars, correct? Dead limbs have fallen. It's gonna be a matter of time, and if we don't address these trees, one's gonna fall on a person. And if it falls on a person, we're gonna be so sorry that we didn't address this in a timely manner. Now, it's my understanding that you guys have, you said at the last meeting that there's been, somebody's gonna come in this winter and try.
In the budget, the council allowed, I believe it's $250,000 for us to get a contractor. So simultaneously with that contractor, we will be working in DPW. Will that get the 600 down?
No.
Unfortunately, it will not. But there's a way to do spring cleanup, but that means we'd have to contract it out. There's a significant cost increase by having an outside contractor come in and do spring cleanup. But even with the cost of it, you do recall that we had the Realtors Association get on our case. We had mothers that we had it during prom. We had showers, we had weddings. It's during the prime period when a lot of activities, when people people want their yards, they're selling their houses, and it looks and it's not just
It looks
2
like a
weeks.
dump.
It's for 4 weeks, because people put stuff way out in advance, then we're going out and doing abatements, and then people are coming back and saying they didn't know, they didn't get information. So there's just a lot that goes on during spring cleanup, and then we have the salvagers, and so there's a whole bunch of things that we looked at, even beyond cost, is why spring cleanup was no longer a good idea.
Well, and the thing is, you gotta look at too, you know, it's nice to have that, but reality says we can't anymore. You know, there's a reason why all the communities around us got rid of it. You know, and it's the old story, you can't beat a dead horse to keep running, because we don't have the manpower, we don't have
The money.
the people to do their little sorting and everything. We don't have the equipment to get rid of it, the proper equipment.
Yeah, right, we had to hire out trucks.
We had to do quad axles to carry the
Right.
junk, and then we were paying, like labor ready, or, you know, we had some
Yeah.
temp workers
We had temp workers.
helping.
And we've had still a lot of money, but we've had less money spent doing the ticket proposal than we do with having somebody come and pick it up.
And we.
You know, the people of Cudahy, and I get this with my mom, because my mom's 80 years old, and I keep telling her all the time, this is not the 1950s anymore.
We
You
didn't have-
cannot do this kind of stuff.
When we had 43 employees.
Yeah, you know, and
And we had daily
everything was a
garbage
lot
pickup.
cheaper. You're paying more in dump fees, you're getting less back from the state and things like that. You know, Common Council's gonna have to realize that this is an animal that we can no longer support. And we have to we either do the tickets or we get rid of it entirely.
And I'm not, and
We're gonna be raising fees in other areas, for crying out loud.
we have to raise the recycling fee
No matter how we look
everything
at it.
stays the way it is.
Yeah.
This fee has to be raised, and it, you know,
Well, and then it's a matter of.
it's a minimum of
is it
$10
raised
next year.
$5?
$10 the next year,
Or
and probably $10 the next
or
year.
$15. I mean, we've gone, I don't know how many times, for at least a year, we've been beating this, trying to figure out ways to save the department and save the city money. And we're at the point, we thought this was the best solution out of the whole thing. Because only the people that need to use it. Those that didn't need it, didn't use it. And it saved the city money, it saved the citizens taxpayer money. You know, they gotta realize that there's nothing else we can do here.
I wanna state 2 things here. One, you know, I'm a very staunch conservative, don't like fees and don't like increasing taxes. You know, I understand though that you have to, you know, certain things have to go up. I also wanna point out that, you know, Jason politically, ideologically, sits at the opposite end of me. But yet, he's not in favor of just going off and increasing all the fees just to increase it. It's easy to say, yep, we'll just do it, we'll just start increasing all the fees. That's not the solution. I think we have a very good compromise with these tickets. You still have the service, we're not increasing that. Yes, we're gonna have to look at it, an increase anyways, and, you know, you're shortly, you know, for it. My fear is, if we go back to spring cleanup, and we increase these fees are just gonna be elevators every year. Because as Mary Jo said, it's only gonna be a little bit of time before we no longer can take the yard waste to where we go. And then I'm sorry, we're gonna have to then be the bad guys and say, guess what? We're not taking grass clippings anymore. And you wanna see people go wild?
Or we're gonna have to start charging for it again. And you know what, in hindsight, we probably shouldn't have stopped charging for it because of what we got with the situation this year. We should have probably kept the $2 or whatever it was a ticket and just limited it to 15 tickets. But You're trying to give the consumer, the citizen, the best service at the cheapest
Well,
price. And we were able to start taking waste, yard waste,
I mean, if-
for nothing this year.
if the spring cleanup gets, you know, reinstalled, you also have to remember that you're gonna have, you're gonna have to start charging the fees again. Cause, I mean, the dump will be back open, so then you'll have people who just have to prove that they have a driver's license that says Cudahy, who live in a 16 family, or somebody who's not really paying for the service to actually run the dump, can go back to dumping again. And those fees will have to go up. So then you're gonna have people saying, wait a minute here, they jacked my recycling and garbage cart fee up to bring the spring cleanup back. And then I now have to pay again to get rid of my landscaping stuff, because we're not supposed to accept grass clippings, and they're charging me higher. Why didn't these guys just leave the golden tickets? And I mean, honestly, I've had 3 emails. One was from a first district person that everybody got, and I've had 2 other emails. You can pull an open records request on my email server. One was from Rosewood, and I don't even know if the lady, I just assume she's in my district, she emailed me.
We'll call the FBI.
Call the FBI. And those people said, leave it with the, you know, like the way it is right now with the free tickets. And then the person from the first district wants it, you know, wants spring cleanup back.
The only
Where I
comments
think you just buy tickets.
I got from it, were positive comments because it was free. They didn't have to purchase the tickets anymore. And the only other comment I got was, could we buy a couple extra tickets?
Yeah.
That's been it.
Willie Lore.
Yeah, that's been it. I'm sorry. My wife does a lot of gardening.
Yeah, that's what I hear. You're always trying to get me to take all your garbage.
Yeah. I know you guys are new to this.
We'll have to
I mean,
keep,
you know,
we'll have to keep the conversation with
we
them.
can't
now,
talk to
'cause
them at all?
They can't talk back, so don't talk to them. Don't egg them on with conversation when they're not supposed to answer. So,
They
you do
can't.
that to me all the time.
I know.
I have people in the crowd, what do you think? It's not on the agenda, so.
You know, and not to belabor it, but going back to the electronics, you know, when they come all here, we've spent the time, we got the charge, and then here we have to give them forgiveness, because there is no way to 100% prove, because we don't have cameras pointing at everyone's house to see who, in the middle of the night, snuck out that TV.
Yeah,
So we have to pay, the
Mhm.
city has to pay to get rid of it.
that was a nightmare.
Well, we-
How many people came and appealed that?
Well, and that
Oh,
went on
there
for
was-
months.
there were at
It
least
went on for
10.
months.
Yeah.
It's like the snow
And
removal. I
all
mean,
they had to do was come in and say, that wasn't my TV, and we had to forgive it. You
I
know,
mean,
if
there
you
were a
trying to
couple
charge for
legitimate ones where
electronics-
they called the police and said, hey, I spotted like this person from, and they filed a police report, you know,
Yeah.
because they knew they were gonna get charged, so there was at least some police,
I didn't
a police
put
report
that
of
TV in
crime.
front of my house, and then we had to forgive the fee. I mean, and all that's gotta do is get out that, you know, all you
Just-
gotta do is
just
say
say
it's
it's
not
not
your
mine.
you're not your TV, that somebody moved it, and there were people that were moving equipment. There was no question about that. They were loading it up, the next day they'd strip it for whatever and then dump it somewhere else.
And in full disclosure, you talk about the trees hitting cars. He is one of my constituents, Frank, and I went over there because he's concerned about a tree falling on his house. A dead tree. And, you know, these are things that, you know, we're going to be taking away from, you know, to do. You know,
In the priority of things, it is not up there, it is down there. And like I said, I've seen with the road reports, I mean, we are so far behind in roads. It is just, it's scary how far behind we are in the roads. And I mean, this would be just, 110,000 would be a mere pittance. But it's gotta go somewhere else. These funds have to go somewhere else. We can't justify having this anymore. We're still providing the service, which I am, and she knows it, I am not one to wanna close that place, the dump. As limited as we have to do, I still wanna provide that service where people have a place to take things. But in the scheme of things, this is not,
So you would say you're vehemently,
I would say so, and I've dealt with it for
Well, we're gonna
all
need
the time I've been on this board.
We're gonna
I
need a
mean,
motion.
And,
I
Number
make a
two.
motion that we retain, the dumping procedures that we install for
So you
fiscal
want,
year
you wanna keep it the
2016,
same and not bring back spring cleanup?
and not bring back spring cleanup.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion on that? Questions? Mike, talk to us here. You all right?
What?
Okay.
It's fine.
Man's
I mean,
So-
I came in here figuring we should just maintain what we've been doing. It seems to be working, and it's, well, it's awful expensive to go back to the way it used to be. And
We
there
can't
are,
afford
there
it.
are a lot of negatives, with the old spring cleanup.
Yeah.
You got scavengers, you got just junk all over the city, you got junk coming in from other communities. It's, you know, I think this system has been working really well.
you know, before I'm characterized as being callous, cold, against all of that, you know, we have to face the facts. The bottom line is, we don't have the money for it. The priority is not it. We have a solution that still allows them to get stuff there.
Yes.
We don't have the manpower for it. You know, we'd have to contract out. I don't see anything in a category that says, yes, we need to do it. You know, we're still providing the service has changed. So anyone that says the service is gone is not being honest. It's just changed. Yes, they have to get it there, but they can still get rid of it.
Yes, I agree. I
They
mean,
can
you're
call-
not
they
being
can-
callous, and I agree.
They can call in a
That's-
special assessment. I've already asked Mary Jo, we are not stuck with having to use Advance. If they wanna call Waste Management, because they think Waste Management's gonna give them a better price, they can. That's up to them. They wanna call Junks or us, they can.
Mhm.
They're not stuck with Advance. I don't know how much I can beat that into people's heads. You know, I can't cut open their head and open it and dump it in. But they can call whoever they want for
Mhm.
special pickups. You know, we're
We
not
still
stuck
do-
with it.
We still do special pickups, correct?
City?
No.
We're done with it? It's
Yeah,
been,
that was part of the contract.
okay.
But you can
That's
go,
their
you can
contract.
go to waste, you
You can
don't
go anywhere
have to
you want.
do advance.
Yeah, but if everybody says no waste, or, for the cost.
No further discussion? Go to roll call. Willie Lar?
Yes.
Mike Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Hollenbeck?
Yes.
Frank Magistro?
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Leave it as is. Now we'll go back to number one, overview and discussion regarding the 2017 recycling fund budget.
Apologize for that, I kinda strayed.
You've seen the number, you just basically need us to,
We're just approving an existing number?
Um,
The way it is
approving
now?
the budget for 2017.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. You know,
What's that
the
represent?
talk about having to, you know, increase recycling stuff, that's actually gonna be for the following year.
So is there
So
a
there
motion
won't
to
be a
accept the number,
I make
this
a-
number?
There won't be a change in the recycling fee
We can't
this
anymore.
year?
Not for 2017.
Okay.
So we're gonna be a little bit more in the rear next year.
What was it, 12,000?
17.
17.
I make a motion to accept the 2017 recycling fund
I
budget.
second that motion.
Any further discussion on that, on the motion? Hearing none, Willie Lar?
Yes.
Mike Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Hollenbeck?
Yes.
Frank Magistro?
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Number three, overview and discussion regarding the 2017 sanitary sewer fund budget.
Okay.